Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. The race cars, lasers, airplanes. It's a duck blur. Might solve a mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales. Ooh. Every day they're out there making DuckTales. Ooh. Tales of daring, do bad and good luck tales. Danger, watch behind you. There's a stranger out to find you. What to do? Just grab onto some DuckTales. Woo! Every day they're out there making DuckTales. Woo! Tales of daring, do bad and good luck tales. Woo! Not ponytails or cottontails, no DuckTales. Woo! We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they could send us to the morgue. Yeah, we are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No. Get off his fucking neck. Oh, that makes you know. He can't fucking breathe. Oh, that makes you know. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No.
Warning. This podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, you're tuned into the best gosh darn podcast on the whole heckin' interwebs. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got my sidekick here with me, Golf You Vapes. I, of course, am your hostess with the mostest, the meter. Meter does many things if you're nasty. We are here to bring you all of the fight news, fuckery, announcements, cancellations, and all the fun things you need to know about in the combat sports world for this upcoming week. But before we dive into all of that nonsense, first and foremost, how the fuck you doing over there, brother?
I'm here. One day closer to a small vacation out of Wisconsin, so we got that going for us.
There you go. Little victory sometimes. Little victory sometimes. So that being said, the kid was around earlier. I don't know where he's at now. I got a feeling he got sucked into preseason football, but we'll see if he makes it. Cool. If not, life happens. We get it. But we roll on. So we will kick things off around here the way that we like to, with a little bit of news in recent events. Like I said, fight announcements, fight cancellations, rumor confirmations, things like that. Interesting news that has fallen down the MMA pipeline since we saw you wonderful folks last. Not a ton of them, but a couple of them are pretty relevant here. The first one just happened about an hour and a half ago, maybe 2 hours ago. Tomorrow evening, we'll talk about in just a little bit in the combat sports menu for the weekend. But tomorrow evening is PFL's first of their playoff series, and their weigh-ins were this evening. And the biggest, I believe it was the only weight miss, but it was significant nonetheless. By 2 pounds was Liz Carmouche for the first time in her entire combat sports career missed weight. She has fought at 125 and 135, has never missed weight at either one. This time going into the semifinals in the PFL for the $1 million, she comes in at 127 pounds. So she has to forfeit an undisclosed, I say with rabbit ears for those of you just listening, amount of her purse for missing weight, and then goes into the match, still carries on, but she goes in with a 1 point deduction starting off. So she basically has to get a first round knockout or submission to keep herself alive in these playoffs, the way that their season and point scoring system works. I don't always agree with the way that their point system work, but I definitely agree with, if you miss weight, you go into the fight down points. I think that is pretty fucking even, because you can't exactly take a point at the beginning of the fight for them missing weight. This kind of does that. This kind of levels it just a little bit. Whatever the reason is, she's a professional. She's coming in for the $1 million. She was carrying the Bellator belt when she came in. She's been doing this for a long fucking time. A 2 pound weight miss, having a full camp for this, little unacceptable. So we will see how that plays out tomorrow once those fights shake loose. Next one we've got here ties back, unfortunately, as a lot of weekends do, to last weekend. It's the only thing that I'm going to say that ties directly to last weekend. We talked a little bit on the podcast about the ridiculousness of Manel Kape versus Muhammad Mokaev and their shenanigans leading up to the card. At the weigh-ins, even they almost got into it again, and then at the actual event, when the two of them got into the cage, they had to be separated by like 30 different security guards to keep from getting at each other. And then, as is almost always the goddamn case, as soon as the bell rings and they're allowed to touch each other, they spend 3.5 of the first 5 minutes dancing around each other, staring at each other, and no one threw a fucking punch. Aside from that fight being absolute shit, top to fucking bottom, one of the least exciting moments of the fucking card. In the post-fight press conference, Muhammad Mokaev came out and actually confirmed that yes, he 100% did sucker punch Manel Kape, and he did it on purpose because Manel Kape had headbutted him at the PI a couple months ago before his fight with Alex Perez, cut his head open. This was his chance to get retribution, so he told him to come take a picture, and then sucker punched him. At least he owned up to him. I will give him that. At least he owned up to it. But in doing so, Dana White came out during his portion and said, yeah, no, that was the last fight on his contract. And as far as I'm concerned, PFL just got themselves an undefeated 7-0 fighter. So congratulations to him. We will not be pursuing the Muhammad Mokaev business. No, thank you. The only part of that would have made me absolutely 100% agree with Dana is if he would have said that Manel Kape was going with him, because like I mentioned on the show, we don't need either one of those clowns in the UFC, and they demonstrated it perfectly on Saturday on the biggest fucking platform of both of their goddamn careers. So no, we can get rid of both of them as far as I'm concerned. Muhammad Mokaib is gone. Cop is not long for this UFC world, I don't imagine. That being said, moving on to actual relevant fight news here. We got a couple of step-ins and step-outs, as it were, here. The first one coming up in 2 weeks, the August 17th, 305 card down in Perth. Gavin Tucker is out for quote-unquote undisclosed reasons. I say with air quotes for those of you just listening. But Herbert Burns will be stepping in on short notice to take on Jack Jenkins. A little bit more of an interesting fight, in my opinion, this way. Herbert Burns definitely fucking needs this one and going into enemy territory to take on Jack Jenkins. Good luck. We'll see how it plays out for you. That being said, couple weeks into the future here, September 7th, of course, a fucking Apex card. UFC Vegas 97, OSP versus Ryan Spann. I honestly thought that the UFC had let go of both of these gentlemen. I'm not joking or trying to be mean. I honestly thought that the UFC had already let go of both of these gentlemen. So the fact that they're both still under contract and now about to fight each other was a little surprising when I saw that, to say the least. But as far as I'm concerned, in terms of where both of them are at in their career, both overall and in the UFC run, I think it's a pretty even matchup. If they're both going to stick around, let them go at it. They're both at that point in their career. Makes enough sense. Let it be on a fucking Apex card as well. So I get it. That being said, the week after that, as fucking infuriating as this is for me, I know it's 20 times more for several other folks. We got the confirmation from Dana White himself. Noche UFC, sponsored by Riyadh season, September 14th for Mexican Independence Day at the Sphere, will be headlined by the co-main event, Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko 3, just like we all thought it was going to be, even though Alexa, for some reason, was saying they were offering her Manon Fiorot, while Manon was also booked in a different match in a different weight class, but neither here nor there. So we are going to get the trilogy in that one. And then, because it's Mexican Independence Day, a one-of-a-kind show, 20 plus million in production so far, blah, blah, blah. Headlining this card for Mexican Independence, a tribute to Mexican fighters, Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. Now, to be fair, Merab has been adopted officially by the Mexican community. So I do get that 306 does, in a sense, have a Mexican both in the main event and a co-main event. But really, I'm getting 300 flashbacks all over again. The hype, and then. So there is that. Ironically enough, that being said, right after we got that announcement for 306, we got a quadrilogy of announcements for UFC 307 going down October 5th in Salt Lake City, unofficially as of right now, because they haven't confirmed it. But yes, even Dana said that's where it's going to be. The first matchup, Ihor Potieria stepping back in against Cesar Almeida. Very good matchup. I'm very interested to see how that one plays out. The next one I like even more. Kevin Holland versus Chris Curtis. Yes, please. I'm absolutely on board for that. Very good matchup. The writing was on the wall for this one, but it was only a rumor for a long time. Apparently, it is confirmed. Kayla Harrison versus Ketlin Vieira. Title eliminator, essentially. Makes sense. I don't like that they're going to put it on the pay-per-view, but whatever. And then the big one, the one that I think everybody is excited about that we saw this week. 307, Salt Lake City. The King of Rio is back, motherfuckers. Jose Aldo versus Mario Batista at UFC 307. I'm fucking here for it. I'm not even joking a little bit when I say they have already, in those 4 announcements, gotten me more excited about 307 than everything they have given us for 306. I don't know. We'll see, but that lineup alone going on 307, I dig it, man. I dig it. They're gonna do right by that card at least. Might get a lot of shit in the meanwhile, but that seems like they're gonna do right by Salt Lake City. So fingers crossed, because as we saw last weekend, the MMA gods are fucking cruel, and no matter how many or how vast the sacrifice you offer them, sometimes they just won't fucking appease you. That being said, we've got a couple of interesting more here. I don't know why they're putting this one where they're putting it, but this is undoubtedly another title eliminator here. Brandon Moreno stepping back in finally against Tatsuro Taira at UFC Vegas 98 for the main event of UFC Vegas 98 October 12th. I feel like that is much bigger than a fucking UFC Apex card main event, but you know, as we say all the time, Dana White gonna do what Dana White gonna do. Still, spectacular fucking fight. And I'm very excited to see how that one plays out. 2 weeks after that, UFC 308 back over in Abu Dhabi, October 26th. Dan Ige stepping back in, but not against Diego Lopez, which everybody wanted to see. Instead, against Lerone Murphy, which, okay, I guess that is a bit more of a softball than the rematch with Diego Lopes would be, to throw some money in Dan Ige's pocket. So there is that, but a bit of a strange matchup when we got Lopez at 45 against Ortega at 306, and then Ige presumably at 55 against Lerone Murphy, but you never know because they haven't announced what weight class, just that they're matched up. We'll see. Interesting. A few more here real quick. They still haven't officially announced the working title of the company or when the actual launch date is going to be, but the quote unquote super pack of sports broadcasting packages turned streaming service to be released at some point this fall, including all ESPN options, all Fox Sports options, all ABC Sports options, all TNT and TBS Sports option broadcasts, including ESPN Plus, as well as access to UFC Fight Pass. We now know officially will cost $43 a month to stream. It will essentially be the all-in-one package. So it's going to be interesting to see how you're going to be able to get sports outside of that streaming network, because there's going to be plenty of people who just aren't going to buy into that, no matter how much they cover in that streaming package. There's plenty of people who aren't going to be able to afford an extra $45 a month just to watch fights that they're already seeing for $12 a month through ESPN Plus. I don't know. There's a lot up in the air still about this whole giant super PAC streaming organization app thing that they're trying to put together, and I'm still not certain it's actually going to ever get up off the ground, but they seem to be pretty confident, and they seem to be willing to throw quite a bit of coin at it to get it there. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. Last three I've got here are kind of big ones. The first one, we got word this week that Khalil Roundtree's suspension for self-reporting a tainted supplement has officially been extended until they can get a full judicial hearing read for it. They're not going to give him the allowance of, self-reporting and a shortened sentence. They're going to give him a full, how did they phrase it? A full hearing is how they're going to phrase it in terms of deciding what they're going to do ultimately for this. So it looks like it's a little more complicated than the story may have initially led on, which is usually the case. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out, because he was quite literally in for a title shot, ready to be right there for the title shot. He had the matchup with Jamal Hill, which would have gotten him in the title for sure. But now he's sitting on the sidelines for who knows how long, if he gets to come back, because they generally don't do this kind of thing and extend suspensions, especially in a situation where you self-reported, if it's as simple as we initially got told. Could be wrong, but we don't know. We'll find out. The next one kind of hurts a little bit because there was so fucking many of us that were ready to grab that Egyptian flag and just fucking wave and scream. And we don't get to do that now because it turns out that while still currently under suspension for the 2022 USADA violation, Hamdi Al-Delawab has tested positive not once, not twice, but 3 more times in 2024 alone. Now, to their credit, this falls under that policy of he was not notified about his first violation until they had already discovered the third violation this year. So they had to notify him of all 3 at once. So they in turn took all 3 and turned them into one infraction and gave him a 6-month suspension for 3 more hot tests in less than 6 months' time. His suspension isn't even up until September. But this being added now means that he is not even eligible to accept a contract until the end of February of 2025. He will have been out for nearly 3 years after just barely getting a chance to try to show what he was capable of. I don't understand this. There are, to their credit, plenty of people who have been caught once, gotten their shit together, and then had the clean test record to show that they turned it around. It is possible. It is very unlikely. It is not often the case, but it is possible. When you have as much fucking potential as that man had, and you just throw it the fuck away like this, not once, not twice, not even 3 times, but this is at least 4 times that we can confirm. So who fucking knows how many times he got away with it if we've caught him 4 times in the span of less than 2 years. The suspension might only be 6 months, but I have a feeling that's probably going to be the end of his contract. So it's obviously something we're going to follow up on if the news breaks with it, but I have a feeling that that is probably the last time we will see him in any professional setting, at least here in the civilized combat sports world. He may end up on a regional scene somewhere. He may end up on UA Warriors or something, but as far as his run in the major promotions, I think that probably cheddar bobs his whole chances. Last one I've got here. It's kind of fucking huge. And it's ironically something that I said was still a possibility, remote as it was when the initial part of this happened. And holy shit, the sun does shine on a blind dog's ass once in a great fucking while. And this is quite literally one of those situations. This week, the judge in the UFC antitrust lawsuit case has officially thrown out the settlement agreement. He said that this just isn't even remotely close to what they were asking for, and it can't be considered even remotely close to fair of an agreeable settlement, that he's not going to accept it regardless of what they say, and the trial date has officially been set for October. So all of the haha and the high-fiving and the bullshit that the UFC boys have been doing, thinking that they got away with everything, that they bought themselves a victory, no, boys and girls, you have not, because this was basically the Hail Mary option that we talked about when they initially made the announcement of an agreement, quote unquote, to the settlement itself, that the judge still had final say, that even though both sides had agreed to it, that if the judge does not agree that this is a fair settlement, he can still throw it out the fucking window and send it to trial anyway. And god damn it, that is exactly what has happened. This is still no guarantee that all of the good things we are hoping for are going to happen, or that anything necessarily is going to happen as a result of this. This just means they are not going to be able to buy their way out of that, that the evidence that has been discovered in pretrial will be made public record and will be shown to the masses. All of those emails, all those internal messages, all of the nonsense, all of the predatory bullshit and clauses that have been rumors for years will now be made public record and shown to everyone. So all of the skeletons from the UFC's closet that they have lied about for all these years will be laid bare come October. So this is going to be interesting because they can't deny this anymore. They can say what they want until October. But as Cartman once said, the truth shall set you free. That being said, you got anything over there that I might have missed this week?
No, other than you covered the cuts, right? Yeah, then we're good. That's the only thing I thought of. I must have zoned out during that.
No, it's been a fairly short week, mostly good fight announcements. So hopefully we don't get anything crazy before we get some more fights. That being said, this would normally be the point in the podcast where some bullshit B-roll ad would come through for some product that the company doesn't actually know anything about the podcast and no one on the show actually uses. And we don't play that kind of game here on the I'm No Joe podcast. This podcast is sponsored by viewers like you. Patreon.com/I'm No Joe. For as little as $1 a month, you get your name at the end of every broadcast on this channel as a thank you to let everyone know how much of a badass you are, as well as unrestricted access to the behind the scenes, unaired and unairable content, the crazy shit that happens when the cameras aren't officially broadcasting here on the I'm No Joe podcast. Just as a way to say thank you, things that, we can't show the general public, but as a contributor, you get access to. So just a little way to say thank you. That being said, normally this would be the point where we would talk about how we got a kid who goes out and fingers the pulse of MMA and but he's not here. So instead, we're going to give you the combat sports menu for this weekend before we go further here. We are going to talk about the UFC card here in just a little bit, but that is not the only game in town this weekend. There is plenty of combat sports to be had. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, tomorrow evening kicks off at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time with the PFL 7 card. That is the first of their round of playoff cards. Interesting matchups. My boy Big Swarm coming through, making noise, trying to take him $1 million. I hope he fucking gets it. He should be able to beat the shit out of Popov with no problem, but crazy things happen. So we'll see. Dakota Ditcheva is getting another lamb put up on the pedestal to slaughter. Like I said, Liz Carmouche missed weight, still got to fight Tyler fucking Santos though, so going to be an interesting one. And they're trotting out old Tim Johnson to try and make it look like they got a full card. So we'll see how that plays out. Kicking off tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. One Fight Night 24 from over in Bangkok. This one is on Amazon Prime. This is another one of those. There's a reason we talk about these one cards. Even if you don't know anyone that is on that card, there's 6 Muay Thai fights in MMA gloves. There's a pure submission grappling match. There's a kickboxing match. There are 4 MMA matches. This is a legitimate MMA mixed martial art card going down from Thailand that you get to watch on American time. So that is very nice. Wrapping up Friday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, LFA 189. There are a couple of names on this card that even the average fan is going to recognize. The hardcores are probably going to know about half this lineup here. It's one of the better cards that LFA has put on in a long time. So I'm definitely looking forward to try and catch some of that as well. That brings us around to Saturday, and we are over in Abu Dhabi. And unlike last week when we were in England and still kept the fights on Vegas time, for some reason, when they're in Abu Dhabi this weekend, the fights take place in Abu Dhabi time. So here in the United States, those fights will be taking place at noon Eastern, starting at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. I will say that again, for those of you who are just listening, the fight Saturday for the UFC card start at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Set your coffee makers accordingly, boys. This one's going to be early. That being said, luckily, that's not the only punchy kickies for Saturday, because Saturday evening, kicking off at 6 p.m., 6 Eastern, 5 Central Standard, Bud Crawford stepping back in to do the damn thing, taking on Madrimov for one of the belts. This is another one of those situations where there are several belts in play and they are all from different organizations, so that gets a little bit muddy, but there is a belt on the line. Former heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz also on the card earlier. There are several pretty decent matches for even the casual boxing fan on this one, going down from LA Saturday evening. So there is punchy kicky to be had all the way across the board. That being said, normally the kid would give us his rundown, but the kid ain't here, so we will give our rundown of the kids segment here. We ain't been out there fingering the pulse. We've been here doing the damn thing. So on the fly, Golf Tee, you got some cans and contenders from this card. I know you got something to pick through on this one. I know there's a couple on here you've been itching to chop apart.
There's constantly fucking cans all over the fucking cards we've been getting lately. Look, unfortunately, as much as I love having fights every weekend, I hate having can fights every weekend. You're supposed to maybe have 1 or 2 per card, but not a whole fucking card full of them. And that just seems to be what the UFC is doing, because they've made a stable way too fucking big and they put on events way too fucking often. I'm not gonna lie, I miss the pre-COVID days where we got maybe 2 cards a month,
Even 3.
and we had decent cards.
Yeah, even 3 cards a month when it was only 3 a month, when they weren't trying to jam that extra one in. Those 3 were usually pretty good all the way around. I agree.
Yeah, so we end up with fucking shit on here, like fucking Cedricus Dumas and Dennis Talulin this week. Fucking trash, both of them. I mean, then you're looking at fucking other ones that both need to be cut. Victoria Dudikova, Sam Hughes. Those 2 can go right in the fucking trash as well. Look, I don't want to just bang on the fucking lowly end of the card, because there's shit up towards the top as well.
Sir.
Why are we watching Tony Ferguson fight for the 7th or 8th loss in a row at this point? Cut that motherfucker. Look, the Tony Ferguson of old was fucking fantastic. Tony Ferguson of now needs to be put into a wheelchair, wheeled out, and go, no, papa, we don't fight no more. And they're giving him Michael Chiesa to put him away.
On that just a little bit. I think the Chiesa match is actually kind of fair, because Chiesa spent more time at the desk than he has in the cage in the last couple of years, to put it politely. Granted, some of his reasons have been justified, some of them have been bullshit, but he spent about as much time out of the ring as Tony has lately. So I think this is actually kind of a fair matchup. My problem with this one is the placement. Why the fuck is that your main card opener? There in no world is that fight going to be exciting.
Oh, that's not the main card opener now.
Did they move it?
Yeah, it should be Joel Alvarez and Elvis Brenner as the main card opener currently.
Oh, I've still got Ferguson versus Chiesa opening the main card.
Granted, God knows they'll probably flip that shit around at some point, because that's what they do. But still, to be honest, that's a premier prelim fight at best.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if they put that on the prelims, I'm okay with it. I don't need it on the main card. I'm okay if they're going to make that fight. But
yeah, and
the main card shit.
To Chiesa's credit, albeit he spent a lot of time on the fucking desk, he needs to go too. I mean, he's on a 3-fight skid as well.
As I said, the matchup wise, I'm not mad at. It's the placement that I have issue with on that one.
Granted, I'll talk about it later when we get to odds, but there's a reason why the odds are the way they are on that fight. Also, what I'm not excited about seeing, I don't care about seeing Shara Bullet. That dude is a one-trick fucking pony. He has no fucking ground game. And the second somebody gets him to the ground, he's fucked. Also, he can't get a fucking visa into the US. He's never going to be on any big card.
Dana said that they had dispelled that rumor that he does have a visa, that they're working on getting him booked into the US next.
Oh, so they're working on a visa. In other words, he still doesn't have a fucking visa.
No, they said they got him the visa. They said they're working on the fight part of it now.
Oh, I thought they were still working on the visa. All right. See,
That's what has been holding it up. They said it was they were working on the visa. That's what the delay was. Now the visa has supposedly been acquired, according to them. I'm saying all this with rabbit ear air quotes for those of you just listening. Allegedly, according to Dana, the visa has been acquired. Now the fight is what's holding it up.
yeah, he's still a one-trick pony. Doesn't change my fucking mind on him. But yeah, look, he's the kind of fighter that they want in the UFC, the one who wants to stand and bang, because that sells tickets and it puts asses in seats. And I get that. But I want a well-rounded fighter who can manage himself on the ground if shit gets there. Because yes, all fights start standing, but most fights end up on the ground at some point. It's very rarely do you get a case of Kevin Holland and fucking somebody else willing to fucking bang it out, you know?
Right.
But enough of the cans because there's others on here. But as far as contender fights go, I'm excited to see the Vera Figueiredo fight. That's going to be a fantastic banger of a barn burner. Now, there is, in fact, I'm going to call that a Schrodinger's contender fight for this reason. Figgy has not been the same Figgy he was since he lost the belt. He's looked pretty off, which to his credit, there's a lot of champs that do the same thing. They fucking lose that belt and they lose their fucking way or that drive or that fire. And it kind of goes by the wayside. So do I think the fight's still going to be interesting? Yes. But it's not going to be the craziness that you would hope for out of that fight. And knowing that Ver just came off a loss off of a title challenge, he's probably fucking hungry and ready to get back after it. So he could make a big statement here and just dispatching Figueiredo quickly. But then again, Figueiredo's a pretty tough son of a bitch, so I don't know that we get him out of there early. Now, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to. The women's strawweight fight in Mackenzie Dern and Lupe Godinez. I have to put it in. I have to put it in the contender spot as a whole.
Oh,
because unfortunately, whichever way this goes, somebody's going to get a top 5 opponent next. Mackenzie Dern is kind of she's turning into what's the best way to put it? The non-title challenging preacher's daughter. Where they just give her another good fight as long as she takes a fight. That seems to be her fucking MO. Lose one, win one. Oh, we'll give you another top contender spot. So, unfortunately, that does throw this fight into the contender spot. But my eyes are on Lupe Godinez. I really think she's got a good, strong chance against fucking Mackenzie Dern, as long as she keeps it on the feet. Because, to be honest, much as I hate to say this, Dern has a fantastic ground game as far as jiu-jitsu is concerned. Godinez isn't quite to that same level. She's got a good ground game, but it's not that same level, unfortunately. But the reason why I put this in the contender spot is because of what's going to happen no matter the outcome. Godinez wins, she's going to get a top 5 opponent. Dern wins, she's going to get a top 5 opponent. So it's just kind of how that fucking strawweight is jammed up there in the women's division. Now, lightly touching on the main event in Sandhagen and Nurmagomedov. I can't say either one of these are contenders. Corey Sandhagen has lost a step. Umar, the only thing he has going for him is he's one of the few Dagestanis that is willing to knock people out, or at least swing for the fences. The rest of them are wrestle fuck, wrestle fuck, wrestle fuck, wrestle fuck. At least Umar fucking swings. But he's also another one of those Dagestanis who he will wrestle fuck you and submit you if he gets the chance. But we've seen him throw hands and he doesn't have a problem doing it. But either way, I as much as I hate to say it, I think Nurmagomedov is the fucking contender in this situation, and Corey Sandhagen is just getting thrown to the sharks.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with most of that. You did nail quite a bit of them here. There are still a couple that I do want to take a minute to point out here, just for the average folks' sake who might not know what exactly is going on this card. This is we talk about this quite a bit, but I'll go over it again just real quickly. Um, this is UFC Abu Dhabi. While it is a bigger card, it is still a fight night, but it's a fight night taking place overseas. And generally speaking, whenever the UFC goes overseas, as was demonstrated last weekend, at least fairly well, they tend to load those cards up with local talent, or at least local representing talent. This being Abu Dhabi, there are a lot of Middle Eastern fighters on this card. And unfortunately, this being a fight night, they are also doing the thing that we talk about a lot of times, where they use fight nights for what we refer to as contractual obligation fights. Matchups that don't necessarily have any implications on the fighter's future or the division as a whole, but because contractually they have to be offered at least 3 fights a year, those fights, if they're accepted, have to go somewhere. And a lot of those tend to go where they are closest to their representing their native region. This is a good example of that. We have got a lot of fights on this card that, even though it's a fight night card, still don't belong on this fucking card. Why are we watching Shamil Gaziev take on Dontel Mays? Why? Why? Even on the prelims of a fight night, why do we need to see that fight? End of sentence, period. We don't. That's the answer. We fucking don't. Now, I will say there are some good matchups on here. I agree. Shara Bullet doesn't need this fucking highlight that they're going to give him anyway. But Alonzo Menafield, really? Versus Mirzakhanov? That has to be here? Like, you're going to sacrifice Alonzo Menafield over here? Like, I get it. And it's justified in this situation. But really? This is what we're doing with this card to pad the numbers up? I don't like it. Now, that being said, there are some shining moments, I would say, some diamonds in the rough, ironically, here in the stack ups. I can't say enough how angry I am that Cedricus Dumas is still in the UFC, but I can only hope that the can that Dennis Tululian is can pull his head out of his ass for just one fucking time and do us right and lay that idiot out cold. I don't think it's going to happen, because that's the thing that should happen, so it probably won't. But there's always that little petty voice in the back of my head going, come on, you can do it, you can do it. That being said, on the other side of that, though, Guram Kutataladze finally getting back to combat after way too long off has essentially lost all the hype that he brought with him. Folks haven't seen him in a hot fucking minute now, but pre-COVID, essentially, he was one of the hottest prospects coming into the UFC when he did. And then the Backstreet Boys did their tour and just kind of threw a monkey wrench in a lot of things for a lot of people, Guram being one of them here. Luckily, he is back now. I don't think that the gentleman that he's fighting against is going to be too terrible of a threat to him if he is somewhat what he was the last time we saw him. If we know we know about what he should have been capable of, and if he can even come back to a resemblance of that, I think he's going to be in real good shape here. I'm curious to see. I don't think Alves Brenner versus Joe Alvarez needs to be main card. I don't think that needs to be on this card. This is some prelim fight night shit, if ever there was some. So the fact that now I find out that they're putting it as the main card opener just makes me scratch my fucking head even more. Alves Brenner is another one of those that came in with a flash of potential that got everybody excited for just a second. And then you watch that balloon just run out of fucking steam and start to sink. We're circling the bowl at this point. I get that 16-4 isn't the worst record in the UFC by any stretch of the imagination, but given the situation and the time that he has come into the UFC and what he has done with his chance to shine in the UFC, you just kind of shake your head and hope for the best here. And I don't think matching up against Joel Alvarez is going to give us that, unfortunately. I could be wrong. There's absolutely a possibility that I'm wrong and this takes fight of the night and it gets the card rocking and I just look like a dipshit come next week. I will gladly eat that fucking crow with two hands. But I'm telling you right now, there ain't nothing in that matchup that's got me the least bit excited, let alone enough to find out that they're the ones opening the main card now. That being said, with the kid not here, that will bring us to the only segment of the show that actually requires its own individual disclaimers. Excuse me. Tapology.com does not in any way, shape, or form support, sponsor, or endorse the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology does offer you the option to go onto their website, create a free account, and make fantasy-style MMA picks like we do here on the show. They even let you make groups, so we went ahead and made one. We call it I'm No Bookie. It's all one word, or Group 965, if that's how you have to find it. The group is open to the public. You are welcome and encouraged to make yourself an account, join the group, and let us know who the hell you are so we can hold your picks accountable with our picks in a little segment that we call Tapology with TJ.
All right. So let's get right into this. Last week's pay-per-view card, which, to be honest, lackluster. Very for as much air quotes as I put on here, talent as they stacked the card with last week, there really was not as many finishes as you would have expected there to be. Not to mention, a lot of fights did not go quite the way a lot of us expected them to go, with the exception of a few people. But so right off the get-go, I'm gonna say we played double Dutch this week. By we, I mean myself and Don. Fucking 530 points apiece. 8 correct, 9 correct, respectively. We just ate shit this week. We didn't do bad considering there's 14. We're both above 500, but we played double Dutch with our dicks, and we both tripped each other up. Neither one of us could step ahead. It just how that worked out. To the credit of everyone in the group, we were all above 500. It was just a matter of getting those fucking perfects and semi-perfects in there. It was just pure chaos. In fact, everybody between myself and fucking the top spot over there in meter, sitting at 11 to 14, was 8 or 9 correct. And that's in our group here. So also, I do want to say, I think there may have been some cheating in the brothers' household there. The same amount of picks correct, same amount of decisions correct. I think they decided to snuff one difference just to make it look like there was something, because the difference was, Vinny got 2 semi-perfects, or excuse me, 1 semi-perfect and 2 perfects, whereas Christian got 3 perfects. But everything else was the same. Both 4 decisions correct, 9 and 14. I'm just saying, if you want to cheat off your buddy's homework, you got to change more than one fucking answer. That's all I'm saying. All-knowing eye, we see what's going on there. But like I said, to everyone's credit in the group, well done. Hats off. Everybody is over fucking 500%, and well done to the meter. 11 to 14, fucking 2 perfects, 4 decisions, 750 points. That was a fucking weird fucking card to call all of that, because to be honest, there's quite a few coin flips in that fucking card. So getting them any correct, kudos to you, sir.
There was a couple of them where I got the right pick, the wrong method, and I'll still fucking take it anyway I got it. I still managed to get myself in the top 500 on Tapology again for that round, and that one was enough to give me the points to get me my black belt on Tapology. So I was stoked about that more than anything.
That's it. Oh, if you guys don't know, Tapology is indeed free. You can make an account for free. You can join groups for free. So go make yourself an account. Join the group 965 or I'm No Bookie, whichever way is easiest for you to find it. Let us know who you are if you want, because we will tell you when you do good. We'll also tell you when you play double Dutch with somebody else's dick. That's just how that works. And if you're mediocre at best or we catch you cheating off somebody else's homework, we're going to call you out for that too. Just saying, we're watching. Now, with all that being said, we got this weekend, the Sandhagen fucking Nurmagomedov card, Abu Dhabi, early start time, because they don't give us an early start time when they're in England, even though they probably should have. Because I have a sneaking suspicion that probably played a little bit of odds in with some of the fucking fights to to fuck with people in their sleep habits, and nobody trains to fight at 4 o'clock in the morning. When you wake up at fucking 2 o'clock in the morning, is it normally because, oh, I gotta get ready for a fight? No, it's because you gotta fucking take a piss. So I'm just saying, shit was a little funky there. I'm not mad at the way things played out. Also, because I didn't say it a moment ago, can we fucking shout out old Tommy Aspinall? That dude is an absolute fucking animal. As much as, yeah, the ref probably could have let that go a little bit longer to give Blades a chance to stand up, I don't think he was getting back up, to be honest. But either way, they need to scrap the Jones Miocic bullshit and time to unify the titles. I'm calling it now. Sorry, this is not part of my segment, but it fucking needs to be said. Because unfortunately, Jones keeps fucking running. And it's Jones running. That's all it is. And it's Daddy Dana going, oh, I'm going to lose my fat cat. I'm going to lose my big purse. Yeah, you are. And I'm fucking here for it. Because Tommy Aspinall deserves that shit. Now, back to where I'm supposed to be going. Sandhagen Nurmagomedov card. Talk about the odds this week. For the vast majority of the card, as per usual, to no surprises of anyone, there are a lot of coin flips. However, there are a few with some wider odds that we're going to cover. Not all of them, because it's just not worth all of them. Let's go with the fight that I think could have been scrapped from the card and they didn't need it. Shamil Gazayev and fucking Dante Mays, excuse me. They've got Shamil coming in as a minus 250 over Dantel as a plus 200 underdog. Not crazily wide odds, but it's something a little bit wide. Right up behind that, Muhammad Yahya and Fernandez. They've got Yahya coming in as a plus 280 underdog and Fernandez coming as a minus 375 favorite. A little bit wider odds there. So not too bad, not too crazy, but it is something you can bet on. Also, I want to mention, speaking of betting, the missus wanted to go to the casino for her birthday last week on Saturday. So that's what we did. I fucked up. I want to say I fucked up. I looked at the fucking odds that they had on the Meatball Molly McCann fight and went, I need to bet the underdog here because I knew Molly was going to fucking lose. And I didn't make the fucking bet. And as I'm watching fights roll through on the picks, I realized she fucking lost. I'm like, I could have made like $600 off of $100 bet. I'm kicking my own ass. I should have fucking done it because I had a gut feeling, but no. And man, I was fucking salty when that happened. But anyhow, back to things. This is why we talk about odds. So you can be salty when you don't make those fucking bets, even though you know you should have. So the widest odds on the card: Michael Chiesa, Tony Ferguson. Got Tony Ferguson coming in as a plus 425 underdog, and Michael Chiesa coming in as a minus 650 favorite. So a guy coming in with back-to-back losses, and Chiesa is getting a minus 650 favorite because Ferguson's coming into back-to-back times 7 fucking losses, or 8, yeah, whatever the fuck it is. So you get these crazy ass wide odds. And to be honest, I think they should be fucking wider. Ferguson has lost more than a step. He's lost like 6 steps. And albeit Chiesa's lost his last 3, they haven't been that bad. And he's spent a lot of time on the desk, so he's got to be relatively fucking healthy. I think those wides could be a little odder. Oh, excuse me, a little wider, but that is what it is. BetMGM, if you're listening, by all means, tell those bookies to spread those odds a little bit more. I think you're off a little bit. But that was the biggest one on the card. Like I said, the rest of them pretty close to coin flips, fucking for the most part. So I'm not going to cover them. Just co-main and the main here. All right, so Mikhail Electricek. I'm probably martyring his fucking name. And Shara Bullet. Unfortunately, because of where they are in the world, they're giving Shara Bullet the fucking not being the underdog here. He's a minus 275 favorite. Electricek coming in as a plus 210 underdog. I think those odds are a little off. Mikhail's fought way better fucking opponents. Way tougher strength of schedule. I'm pretty sure that's going to show in that fight. I'm telling you right now, bet the fucking underdog. As long as he makes it out of the first round and doesn't fucking stand and bang the whole time, he'll win that fight. Now, on to the main event in Corey Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov. Now, Umar coming in as a minus 350 favorite over a plus 260 underdog in Corey Sandhagen. There's a reason why I said Sandhagen is getting thrown to the Sharks earlier. Do I think these odds should be that wide? Not quite. I think it's a little more coin flippy than what they've got it. But at the other side of that, like I said, I feel Sandhagen has lost a step, and well, this is his time to be dethroned so the UFC can toss another Dagestani at the fucking title. Because that's what's going to happen should he win this fight. Because he's on too long of a streak right now for them not to. But those are the odds we've got this week. Like I said, as always, I'm using BetMGM for odds. I'm not looking at any other. So if your odds vary at what you're looking at, know that they can vary depending on where you're at. Whether it's DraftKings, Caesar, fucking FanDuel, wherever fucker you're doing your betting at. Just know they're all a little bit different.
No, I agree completely. Those wides could be a little bit odder, but that reminded me, I did forget to mention during our coverage of the kids segment. I am one of the odd ones out. I know that they are absolutely, I agree, pushing, trying to get Umar to be the next Nurmagomedov with a belt on his fucking waist. But I also have a feeling that Corey Sandhagen is just bitter enough, combined with the fact that Umar Nurmagomedov very well might be the Neiman Gracie of the Nurmagomedov family. He showed up with a lot of potential. We saw what he could be capable of. Now, has he actually lived up to that? Not quite as much. We've seen him walk through a lot of cans. I'll give him that. The folks that he has walked through, he has walked through. But if you look at the strength of schedule between what Corey Sandhagen has been up against versus what Umar Nurmagomedov has been up against, there's a significant difference in the level of competition that the two of those gentlemen have faced. Not to say that Umar isn't capable of coming out and shutting us all up real fucking quick and just deading Corey and making us all look like idiots. But I think in a more realistic world, Corey is the more well-rounded of the two. And I think given everything he's been through up to this point, he's clearly bitter about being pushed back time and time again. I think that's got enough of a fire lit up underneath his ass. You can see the bad tattoos that he's done getting now. He's covered, so he's got nothing but time to train now. So I think there's actually a real good chance that Corey is going to come out here and try and ruin the Nurmagomedov coming home party in Abu Dhabi. The odds seem to think that this is definitely an Umar's, basket to lose, for lack of a better phrase here. But I really think that Corey has a really good chance at this. I think he really is more well-rounded than Umar is. And I think since this is going to be the main event, they've got 5 rounds to show it off here. And I think especially if they make it into the later rounds, I'd be willing to bet every penny in my fucking pocket that Corey's got a better gas tank come round 5 than Umar does, Dagestani wrestler or not, because the reason I say he could be that Neiman Gracie of the Nurmagomedov family is because, yes, he does have striking, and he has spent significant time away from that Dagestani wrestling training to develop that striking. And he does have some striking, but it's still not quite as good, in my opinion, as what Corey's got. And then you've got Corey, who's just been refining everything over time, whereas Umar's had to stretch himself a little thinner in his earlier development days. Experience, well-roundedness, I think it all might play a little factor this weekend. I think we could be in for a shakeup. Vegas doesn't agree with me, but I'm telling you right now, I'm putting it out there. I think Corey's got a much better chance than a lot of folks are giving him credit for. That being said, though, that is what we've got for this particular episode. But when we wrap things up around here, that is not the end of the fun. And even though we couldn't make it here, tomorrow morning, most likely, just like pretty much every Friday morning, the kid and his other half are going to drop their podcast, the Slow Bake and Contemplate podcast, over on Spreaker.com. Links to their podcast as well as their socials and their channel over on the I'm No Joe Discord server, where you should all go and tell them that they're bitches for missing the show tonight, but be nice about it. That being said, go over there and tell them how funny they are when they actually show up, and wink at them real hard. It'll be fun. But when that's done, rolling back around one of these Wednesdays, I promise you, it's not this coming Wednesday. That's not an option. That's already been X'd off the calendar. That's persona non grata for Wednesday. We're not doing that. But one of these Wednesdays, I'm telling you right now, the Foggy Fairway is going to make a comeback because our mixing schedule is well and fucked up without it here. So one of these Wednesday nights, you'll get a notification, I promise you, 9:30ish Central Standard Time, over on the Golf T Vapes YouTube channel. You will catch the Foggy Fairway, where we do everything from sit around and talk MMA like we do here, to talking advocacy, talking health concerns, and teaching people how to make bathtub e-liquid, because it's just a damn good time. So chuck down in the description there for the link to his channel and his socials and all that goodness, and go tell him to make sure to make some bathtub e-liquid. Catch it, Trebuchet.
We will get there eventually. Like he said, this week is already booked. I'm flying the fucking coop this week. That's all there is to it. So, but no, to be honest, I'm just enjoying my fucking summertime off. It may or may not be a long-term thing. I don't fucking know. But anyhow, if you didn't know, outside of all those other fun things he said to go check out, Meter himself actually does more than one thing. Even though it feels like only Thursdays sometimes. Maybe that's because I'm here on Thursdays. Go down below. Linktree / the Meter does many things. Linktree / I'm No Joe. It'll take you to all of the wonderful many things that the Meter does do. Your choice to go figure out what he does and does not do, and what he does and does not get into. Click the links. Go explore for yourself. Get your little Dora backpack and have a good time.
Swipe or no swiping. I appreciate it. Thanks, sir. Excuse me. That being said, that is what we've got for this particular episode. So if you enjoyed the shenanigans that we get up to here on the I'm No Joe YouTube channel, make sure you give us the thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed with your notifications turned on. If you cannot or don't want to catch us live here on YouTube, I get it, wheel and mirrors as well. So for that situation in particular, the week after we go live, we put the podcast up in all audio format over on anchor.fm/I'mNoJoe. You can get it through your podcast consumption platform of choice, Google, Spotify, Apple. We're fucking everywhere over there. So no need to look at these mugs. I understand. That being said, it comes out a week later, like I said. But we do this pretty much every Thursday. There are fights to talk about here on youtube.com/I'mNoJoe, 9:30-ish Central Standard Time, because life happens. So make sure you are subscribed, notifications turned on, give us a thumbs up, all that good nonsense. We appreciate you all. On the other side of that coin, if you didn't like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, what the fuck are you still doing this deep into a podcast you didn't enjoy? Hair in my mouth. Give us a thumbs down and then go fuck yourself. We won't even dispute it. That being said, that's all we've got for this particular episode. So until next time, boys and girls, remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything.
Oh,
fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.